This episode of the ABIG podcast is brought to you by Derma Skin Training. Hello and welcome to the ABIG podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Here, we're strengthening and unifying the industry through representation, innovation, and education. This is a platform created and dedicated to the aesthetic and beauty industry, valuing unity and advancement. We serve to represent, support, and inspire you by connecting you with industry experts, expanding your knowledge through educational pieces, and bringing you the latest industry news. This is the ABIG podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Miller, and today we're lifting the lid on one of the most misunderstood and underrepresented modalities in our industry, electrolysis. While laser and IPL dominate headlines and clinic menus, electrolysis remains the only true, permanent hair removal method. Joining me is Kelly Dermody, a passionate educator, practitioner, and compliance expert with over 30 years' experience across clinical aesthetics, dermal therapies, and advanced skin education. Kelly is also a national beauty trainer, clinic owner, and the founder of Mine Minerals, a cosmeceutical skincare and mineral makeup line developed directly from her work with real clients. In this conversation, we explore how Australia's education and regulatory systems are failing therapists when it comes to advanced modalities and why electrolysis matters now more than ever before. Kelly is helping to bridge the gap between training, compliance, and ethical, evidence-based care. If you've ever felt confused, underprepared, or overwhelmed by qualifications, standards, or pathways for advanced treatments, this one's for you. Let's dive in. Welcome to the podcast, Kelly. How are you today?
I'm wonderful, thank you, Steph. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. I always enjoy our conversations. I think they're so colourful, but they're also so educational. I always come out of our discussions just my brain teeming full of knowledge. And for those of you that are listening today that don't know who Kelly is, Kelly, please tell us all about yourself and how you came to be in the beauty and aesthetic industry.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, well, my name is Kelly Dermody, and I've been in the industry for near on 30 years now. Studied many years ago at Ella, come out of there with my diploma in beauty therapy, loved it, always had a deep passion for the education, and luckily enough over the years began educating about 15 years ago through private colleges and TAFE, and ended up teaching up to laser and IPL at TAFE was my last accredited courses that I was delivering. And yeah, also alongside of that, I've had a clinic, Ivy Skin, so I've always been on the tools as well, which I think is very important as a teacher. And began Derma Skin training then last year to fill a gap in the industry, to upskill therapists with accredited training in units that they just may want to study instead of going back and studying a whole diploma or dermal therapies again. So just trying to fill that niche in the market. Developed my own skincare line over the years as well. So
nice.
Very well entrenched in the beauty industry.
You're a true entrepreneur. And of course, Derma Skin Training are now education members of the Aesthetic and Beauty Industry Council. So welcome on board. We are so thrilled to have you because as well, you offer something that's extremely niche. You're very innovative. So I noticed that a lot of the classes and training that you have are very progressive. And one of the areas that you focus on is this incredible resurgence of electrology. And a lot of people out there are thinking, electrology, gosh, I haven't heard that in a long time. Or, oh my goodness, I'm hearing it everywhere because there's a huge kind of resurgence of it. Tell us, Kelly, exactly what is electrolysis and how does it compare to IPL and laser? Because those of us in the industry, at least for the last 10 to 15 years, it's all about those laser type and IPL modalities.
Yeah, absolutely. So electrolysis has always been around. We used to deliver that in the Diploma of Beauty Therapy 15, 20 years ago. Over the years, of course, the laser and the IPL has taken over with a lot of that for hair reduction. But electrolysis, again, has always been in the background. It's making a big resurgence now in our industry because a lot of therapists and especially the clients are realizing that they do want a more permanent form of hair removal, and electrolysis, the modality of electrolysis, is the only way to achieve that because, well, electrolysis, we insert a probe into the follicle itself that destroys the dermal papilla, whereas IPL and laser uses wavelengths and they need to have a chromophore to target with melanin. So a lot of people then with white hair, red hair, grey hair and such are not getting the benefits or the effect from the laser. So electrolysis needs to be brought in.
And you know that even those of us, I have had clinics for 25 years, and you can't get full clearance of hair. Even those that are ideal for laser hair removal or for IPL treatments end up with a percentage of hair that's still there. They will end up with, you know, if done correctly, it's not that much, but you'll end up with some really fine hair sometimes and hair that's lighter and been damaged by the IPL. Obviously, the intent is to try to get as much heat in there to completely, you know, kill off or destroy the blood supply. But sometimes it doesn't happen that way, and they're left with that remaining hair. Is it ideal for those types of clients and also clients with PCOS, hormonal, transgender clients?
Exactly, and that's why it is making a big resurgence now. Like I said, it's always been around, but we're realizing that the gap in the industry, the therapists need to be educated on this skill and upgraded to that to be able to service their clients and customers
Mm.
completely. So, yes, there is definitely a need for this. We work alongside laser and IPL as well. There's absolutely still a place for that in the industry. So, delivering electrolysis now is more coming from working alongside it, not eradicating laser and IPL completely.
Mm.
Electrolysis is just yet another add on that needs to complete the job.
You train for all modalities. It's not just electrolysis. We're talking about electrolysis today, but you've got a complete suite of dermal treatments that you train for as well. So you know exactly where it's placed alongside those modalities. And specifically with regards to hormonal hair, what's the response there with electrolysis and hormonal hair?
Well, with the hormonal hair, again, unless we're switching off the hormone or dealing with that, as electrologists staying in our scope, we can only then treat the hair that is actually there at the time. So for a lot of like clients and customers, we're realizing there is a big insurgence in these hormonal hairs. Lots of girls are presenting with PCOS. There's a lot of like hormonal growth. There's like our paradoxical hypertrichosis, which is being stimulated from a lot of lasers. So we are dealing with lots of different hair types and lots of different issues without being able to switch off, like I said, the hormone inside. The people are still suffering from that. So we need to actually remove or destroy the hair in the papilla at the time for it not to come back. And we are using different modalities for that in the form of electrolysis, galvanic thermolysis, and then using the blend, different methods that we have. And it's important for therapists to understand treatment plans, hair growth cycles, again, how to treat these clients effectively so that they don't have unrealistic expectations of what we can actually achieve.
Mm.
So it is working definitely in that dermal space for actually getting the results for our clients. And being a clinic owner as well, this is what we're seeing a lot of coming in. It's a lot of the clients that are asking for electrolysis, asking, do we do it? Hearing about it online and such. So they're the ones that are actually like fueling this resurgence in electrolysis.
That's wonderful. It's incredible. And you know that it's driven by true client demand. Now, when you're speaking, I can hear a completely different language with regards to how you're referring to electrolysis. The training there is extremely specialized. And I know that, you know, if you're a dermal therapist and you've been taught a whole bunch of other modalities, this specific modality has its own science behind it. And it is extremely different to what we've learnt using laser and IPL. Where are we in terms of the training gap? Are we falling behind with our training. What's actually happening in Australia to give these therapists that want to delve into electrology the training that they need?
Well, through ARBIC especially, it gives us like a platform to bring a lot of electrologists and therapists on board to get their feedback on what they feel that their clients are needing, where that gap in the market is for the education, being able to, we've got a lot of therapists or electrologists coming from overseas with months of study in electrologists before they're allowed to actually work on clientele in a commercial space. We've never really had that in Australia, and we are elevating and trying to elevate to that level. The electrolysis clients and therapists are very different to what they were 20 years ago. So we need to like now be bringing that modern kind of technology, new computerized devices, new different ways of treating the client and the conditions we're dealing with now, being the PCOS, being the transgender, all of these different types of clients walking through our door. The electrolysis training package needs to be looked at, needs to be addressed and expanded on to make it more modern. And this is where I come in with dermaskin training that I'm trying to, well, with the backing of ARBIC, being able to like expand that knowledge and bring electrologists into their own certification and working with electrologists to like build the support and that they need from ongoing education. As a team of electrologists coming through ARBIC, we are putting together a symposium in January, which will bring therapists and electrologists already in the industry together to learn of ongoing training, ongoing education. And we have some wonderful guest speakers from overseas actually attending that
Oh,
are
wow.
leaders in the field in education of electrolysis. So again, through the backing and support of ARBIC, we are elevating electrologists and the electrolysis division here in Australia.
Look, I know myself because we're on the electrology committee together and obviously on the education committee. The training package hasn't been updated in how many years? 20?
Around 20 years that they've ever looked at electrolysis. So when students study diploma of beauty therapy, in the past in colleges, a lot of them will choose a pathway of massage therapies like hot stone, Indian head massage, and so spa therapies. But electrolysis and diathermy have always been an option as electives in diploma beauty therapy. But a lot of colleges and that till now have never felt that there's been a need to deliver that to the students. They've felt spa therapies, and which is true. But electrolysis has always been an elective unit in diploma in beauty therapy. So at dermaskin training, what we do is that we actually then just deliver that unit of competency accredited so that the student is still getting nationally recognised qualification of an elective unit that already exists in the training package. Moving forward, it does need to be looked at, the actual elements and such, to like bring it up to current, like of what is happening in our industry at the moment.
So if someone's interested in electrolysis, they can though go out and study that on its own, or does it have to be part of the diploma right now?
It's at the moment, it does not have to be part of a diploma. We have a prerequisite unit, which is maintain infection control, because electrolysis is actually a skin penetration modality, a treatment. So we need to follow those health guidelines. So because it comes under skin penetration, maintain infection control needs to be done alongside it or as well as electrolysis. What we're trying to do though is to move for people coming in with no background in beauty and such, moving into where they are doing what we call a cluster or a skill set, where we are adding units from the diploma in beauty therapy to give them the skill set to be able then to perform electrolysis safely and hygienically and meeting the Australian standards
Mm.
for their
So,
insurances and such.
so if you're out there and you want to introduce electrology into your clinic, salon, or spa, and you're a qualified beauty therapist or you're a Cert 4, you
Yeah.
can actually successfully study the units in addition and then gain that knowledge and skill and then introduce it into your clinic, which is fabulous. There are some people out there that think, oh, we should have this as a standalone module
Mm.
so that if you only want to become an electrologist, you should be able to find that training and it's a complete all in one encompassing training. What do you think about that idea?
Well, I think that that is where, again, the market is kind of leading us into that. The demand in therapists and girls interested in doing beauty nowadays may want to like go into that pathway. And that's something that we need to address in the training package so that it is nationally accredited training. From a dermaskin perspective, and being a trainer and assessor for like well over 15 years now, I'm very much into nationally accredited training and elevating the industry for that reason. So from dermaskin training, you can study unaccredited, but we also have the option to sit those knowledge exams and such so that therapists out there that have put in the time and effort for diplomas, for dermal, can actually then just add that to their already existing skill set, but actually get the unit of competency. So they know that they are professional in that field and getting all the training that meets the standard as it is at the moment. So, yes, very much. People already in the industry can actually just study that one unit on its own.
If you're thinking about introducing electrolysis into your clinic to get that adequate training, because we have seen those out there that perhaps want to purchase a modality and only receive training, a short amount of training, because there are some companies out there that do provide quite extensive training, but there are also obviously in our industry there's this talk about selling a device or a modality or bringing one in from overseas and not having the skill set to be able to use that modality and device, and only having 1 to 2 hours training and sometimes not getting any training and sort of, you know, on the job trying to figure it out yourself. What are the dangers that we encounter when we do that, specifically with electrolysis? I mean, it sounds like a pretty, you know, it doesn't sound like it can cause much damage. It's not a laser or an IPL. What can the adverse events be?
Well, adverse reactions with not being trained properly on insertions can lead to scarring, blistering, post hyperpigmentation. All of those things can come as an adverse reaction to incorrect training with or insufficient training in electrolysis. And from a health perspective or hygiene, we can spread infections through that as well, as it is skin penetration. So we need to abide by those laws as well. So there is a lot of tissue damage that can be done
Right.
when it's not done correctly. And the post inflammatory hyperpigmentation that's coming from too high a current, incorrect insertion, incorrect probe size, not knowing or feeling the actual insertion into the follicle itself, and then burning the tissue around, and doing, I mean, within the pilosebaceous unit, which is the actual appendage that we are inserting into, you do have your sebaceous glands and your rectopili muscle and many other units within that. And you've got to be careful to keep those intact whilst you are aiming to destroy the dermal papilla. So whereas lasers and that, you cool the skin down on the surface before you administer the laser wavelength, with electrolysis, we are using two modalities, one being a hot needle into there, which is then our thermolysis treatment, or galvanic, where there's a chemical exchange that takes place in the follicle, creating a chemical called lye. And then that does destroy the follicle. So we need to go into there, destroy the dermal papilla without destroying the surrounding tissue. So it is a lot more in depth than what's been thought about in the past.
It seems more tricky. It seems more that you need finer skills to be able to perform the treatment. And it does, I think from an operator perspective, it does take a little bit longer to achieve that result as well. So you need to be the type of person that I would say is patient, is precise, and is
Yes.
wanting to deliver that excellent treatment every time, because it is so precise, things can go wrong. In your experience, you've owned clinics before and, you know, salons. How does that change, or I suppose influence, the way you teach and advocate for other therapists?
Well, again, coming from a very strong background in making sure that accredited training and such, owning a clinic, I I could not put somebody on that has not had the accredited training. I mean, you need to hold that like certificate of completion there, or your statement of attainment for the unit with your little triangle in the corner, so that I know that you've actually gone through and done the national standard training. Built on that's just your foundation skills. things like the symposium that we're having in January is ongoing education. We're always growing and ongoing. And it's important for therapists, salon owners, clinic owners to stay ahead of the education and looking at what new machinery is coming out, how that's working. But I have a very strong belief in having the foundation skills in the first place so that you can talk the language. So you do understand when they say, oh, this is diathermy only, or this is, fast pulsing, that you understand and can then elevate your education from that basis, which is all we've ever had. Like when we do deliver, we just teach the basics of the science behind it and what's happening, and we educate, as I do with my students, to go out there and then question, but giving them that base knowledge to start with. So as a clinic owner, I would or would only hire someone that's done accredited training for my insurance and such, and for the safety and the health and safety of my clients.
Mm. I feel like the way you deliver your training as well is very therapist friendly. You understand where they're coming from,
Yes.
and it's very practical. You show them hands on. It's not just a whole bunch of theory and then you kind of
Yeah.
let them go off. I've heard that your training is great for that hands on practical side. Do you feel that we're not getting enough hands on practical in Australia now that so much has moved online?
Absolutely. And we do recognize the fact that online is there and it's very much here to stay. And I do agree with that a lot, because then people can study in their own time. So how we're structuring, or how at the moment we're structuring with Dermaskin, is that you do have your online component. And once girls enroll, they can get started on that. But from the very time they enroll, I'm always there on the end of the phone to ask any questions. Like, I'm here, attempt. And then whenever we come to do face to face, which again is very important to me, we still go over those key points of the underpinning theory knowledge and expand on that in that classroom environment. And then we like swap it up and then go to work on the machines and work on the skills and practical side so that they can put that theory into practice. One thing during COVID we struggled a lot with being educators is like, how do we pass these girls through a video? You can't. You need to be physically with them. If it's for a day or 2 days while I work on their insertions, then they go off and then they do their practice. I'm very much bringing in this 80-hour to 100-hour logbook now, that the girls can then be, working on different areas, different parts of the body in their own time. And then they come back to me and say, I'm ready for assessment, or I can fine tune, their with electrolysis, it can take you a year or more to perfect your skill. But
Right.
the skill in the first place, you can have all of everything in place, your lighting, your room set up, everything is in place, and you're just working away, practicing your insertions on different models. That can also still be charged commercially. You're not at that point yet, but every time you do a client, you're learning so many more things. So it just needs to be probably this 6 month gap where you're quite not ready to be charging full price, because you're still learning and feeling and developing your insertion skills. And once that happens, it all falls into place, you're good to go commercially.
Advance your skills with Dermaskin Training, where clinical expertise meets hands-on education. Their nationally recognised courses are designed for beauty and dermal professionals ready to expand their treatment knowledge, refine their practical skills, and stay ahead of evolving industry standards. Learn from experienced educators who combine evidence-based science with real-world application, ensuring you gain confidence and competence across every module. Whether you're upskilling or entering a new field, Dermaskin Training provides the support, guidance, and the professional edge you'll need to grow and thrive in today's competitive aesthetics industry. To learn more, visit www.dermaskintraining.com.au today. So, for business owners now and for therapists out there thinking, is this a profitable business model? Is this something that will add and enhance to my offerings? What do you say to them?
Absolutely. I think that it's definitely, like I said, making a big resurgence. There is a lot of people out there that are suffering with these fine vellus hair on the face and the body that has been stimulated over time, and they want to get rid of it. And we are, again, the hormones so different to what they were 20 years ago. We never saw this kind of hair growth years ago. This, it's very like unique. And as a salon owner, about 3 or 4 years ago, I realize a lot of my clients, I'm treating their skin, and it's like there's actually a hair in there. Have you been shaving? And they're like, yeah, I shave every day. And I'm like, why do you shave every day? And they're like, oh, well, I have a beard if I don't. Now they've never even had laser. There's just like with the hormones. Don't know. This is where we're not sure. It's like, but the PCOS and lots of hormones, we just don't know exactly what is causing it. But we then just saw this whole generation of, at the moment, like 16 to 30-year-olds that have this hair growth. We've never seen anything like it. So we would treat with IPL and SHR to reduce, from a clinic perspective, and then out comes the electrolysis machine to like finish that job. So I would not be alone in my clinic in saying that there are many therapists and salon owners hearing this same story from their clients. So a lot of what has been where they think it is acne is sometimes ingrown hairs in there, which is causing the inflammation in the follicle. And that's what we've been treating in salon for all these years. So that's where we noticed it very much. We needs to revive this whole electrolysis.
It's really interesting the point that you've brought up. We are seeing over the last 25 years, I would say that the amount of inflammatory skin conditions that we have seen with our patients has skyrocketed.
Yeah,
We've seen what you're noticing now is increased hair growth, hormonal imbalances. Could it be lifestyle, diet, antibiotic use? Some people even theorize that it could be COVID vaccines. There's all sorts of theories out there. It's hard to pinpoint what it is, but we're definitely in a more medicated society, I think. We're definitely in a more stressed environment and society. I think our lifestyles have changed significantly, and the food that we're eating is
hmm
quite different. And there are ways of, I suppose, the the ways of growing food these days that involve hormone therapy or even antibiotic therapy that do have lingering consequences for humans in terms of growth rates and things like that have been studied and shown. Do you think that has anything to do with
absolutely.
potentially the increased
Yeah.
hair growth?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's something in the androgens, and it's like the testosterone levels and such in when these girls do then, because it's not our scope of practice necessary to find out why it's there. We're seeing it, and we're very careful in saying this is what it is. We suggest that they go see naturopaths and their doctor and get blood tests and things to find out what is underlying. But at the end of the day, our job is then to fix the problem for them on the surface. So with electrolysis, but a lot of them, when they do come back and they're like, oh, my testosterone levels are high, or this is high in me, and it's like, wow, okay, or I have PCOS. The amount of girls I hear that from is amazing. Like I've never heard so much of this before, but the doctors are realizing it. I've seen girls come in on the contraceptive pill that are suddenly growing facial hair. Back when I was young, there was only one contraceptive pill, and it didn't do that. Now there's so many on the market. They'll take it for one condition they have, but then the side effect of that is the hair growth.
This is a
So
fascinating conversation. I mean, I could really talk about this for hours because there's so many things that we see as therapists. We're dealing with people on a daily basis. We're dealing with bodies. We're dealing with feelings, emotions, health. I can see the changes in health trajectory. I can
yes,
actually see it from a 30-year-old, say back 20 years ago when we first started our clinics to the types of traits that a 30-year-old would have now. We are looking younger, but we're presenting with more concerns, especially autoimmune and inflammatory concerns earlier, and definitely hormonal issues as well. I'd love to perhaps delve into it down the track
yes,
and have another
yeah,
podcast about all of this because it is so interesting. But I suppose this is presents an opportunity to help, right? So an opportunity
exactly.
for you as a business owner to serve and
Yes.
help these people that are going through angst really with regards
Yeah.
to the situation. And I feel that as a therapist, bringing on electrolysis into
Hmm.
your practice as another modality to have there is a really responsible caring thing to do, because rather than say, look, I can't help you, adopt this. I can help you. I have it within my power to help you, and this is the modality that can help you. Because right now we're having a huge shortage of
Yeah.
electrologists in Australia. And what does that mean? It means that clients are waiting for months and months, sometimes 6 months or more, especially in rural areas, to even get a treatment. And there's a real outcry there for clients to have this service available to them. So if you're listening to this podcast and thinking, is it commercially viable? Yes, I would say
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes. It's not something that we're developing. It's always been there, and we are filling that need in the industry. And there's nothing more rewarding than seeing somebody come in that has been shaving, who all of a sudden 6 months down the track say, I don't shave anymore. I'm not stubbly anymore. It goes. And with electrolysis, when it is done the right way, within 12 months, you can clear that entire area of that for the client. But it does come down to technique, treatment planning, making sure that you can service your client for that amount of time and they're not going like for months without it. So it's a very tight niche of like bringing a client in and working alongside them to get the outcome that they need. So this is why the training needs to be nationally accredited and elevated to that kind of level. It isn't just like a simple fix. There is much more to it. And that's why to get those results for your client, which is very rewarding. Back in the olden days, we just used to do a few chin hairs on 65-year-old ladies. It is not that kind of clientele anymore. It's grown so much, which is where the training needs to be developed into something that's modern and treating a modern therapist treating the modern day client. And this is where Derma Skin with me, I am elevating it to that level so that they are getting that well-rounded education, something to build on later within masterclasses, within device training and such. But they have to come back and learn what the current does to the cell in the first place to be able to build on that.
Mm.
And that's where the unit of competency comes in.
And there's people thinking, probably, remembering electrolysis, one needle, one hair at a time, really slow procedure. I'm here to tell you that's not the case anymore. Things have advanced.
Okay.
We have devices, which I've just found out about, that are multi needle devices.
Yes.
Tell me about those.
The multi-needle devices are amazing. They use the galvanic current, which is developing or creating that lie current, and they will use up to 14 to 18, probes at a time. And Noreen of course created this and is the expert. So we must have a podcast with her to discuss this. Noreen's from Permanence, and she developed the multi-probe device to deliver the galvanic current, which is permanent. But the science behind that is definitely something that needs to be recognised and looked into as to why that works on clients. We've got other devices that use pico flash and things where they're delivering like a very fast pulsed heat into the follicle, which is killing it off a lot quicker, and with less downtime and less trauma to the surrounding tissue. So there is that kind of like device. But at the end of the day, it is still a fine needle probe, no matter what modality we're using, inserted into each and every follicle. But we can go a lot faster now. And instead of just leaving that person for months on end, we are getting them back in 2 and 3 weeks and getting the clearance, whichever modality that we're using, and we're getting the results for them because it is that different type of hair growth. So yeah, the machinery has absolutely come a long way in the 20 years, and places like in the States and Canada have been ahead of this. They've never given up doing electrolysis. Australia has, but it's now coming back. And it's like a lot of students when I teach laser, they're like, I'd mention electrolysis is the only form of permanent hair removal. Your laser and IPL is reduction. And they're like, yeah, we don't want to learn that. That's so old. So it is all us old girls coming out, bringing it all back.
Oh, it's a whole new world out there with electrolysis, really. What do you think the future looks like in terms of education? What do you hope for?
What I'm hoping for and seeing in education is the beauty package being looked at, and then hopefully having a set of like core units that you need to have to come into the beauty world, being your anatomy and physiology and your advising clients and understanding about the skin and the body and how it works. And then being able to, and studying those core units, and then being able to like choose. There's electives of the area that you may want to go into in your initial training. So whether it be electrolysis diathermy pathway or your spa therapies pathway, there's many pathways that you can go in and specialize in, or moving on to your laser and IPL. But what I like to, or would love to see in the future, which is very much where my dermaskin training comes into it, is that say you did take a spa therapies pathway and then later on you want to pick up electrolysis. You can come and learn that accredited training that sits in the beauty package that meets the national standards. Get your unit of competency, add it to your already skill list. And being able to build your skills. You may just want to focus on brows and lash extensions. You should be able to add that, but not everybody wants to do that. So you need your core skills in the first place, your core units, and then be able to choose where you want to move into. And
I love
that's where I'd love to see beauty moving into hopefully sooner rather than later.
We can build a pathway for career progression as well that way, that's elegant, that doesn't
Absolutely.
double up on any education that you've had in the past, and can lead you to the dermal pathway and the medical aesthetic pathway. That's Isn't that just a dream,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. But we all have to come back and have that core knowledge in what the skin and the body is doing and how it responds to trauma, how it responds to inflammation, how it responds to hormones. And having that core knowledge will allow us to then like building blocks and build on our own career path. Instead of, not everyone wants to do nails and such anymore. So they're the things that are core units in diploma at this time that could possibly be shifted along to a nail pathway so that girls do have that strong underpinning knowledge to begin their career with. And I do feel that given the choice of that, most therapists or people wanting to enter into the beauty world, that is absolutely a pathway. They want to be accredited. They want to stand proud of their industry. And I just feel that we're not making that easy for a lot of students, and they get disheartened and pick up short courses here and there. And I do know that they're getting frustrated, that they perhaps are seeing adverse reactions on where am I going wrong? What am I doing wrong? And they are craving this kind of accredited structured training so that they can have that support to make those informed decisions for their clients. So that's where I'd like to see beauty going, a buildable pathway.
It's heartening to feel that we may have that possibility coming up with education reform. Of course, ABIC, and as you say, it's so elegantly ARBIC. I love that. I'm going to start adopting that. Through ARBIC and the connection with SAXA, and of course with government, we are starting to look at reforming education and the training
Yes.
for our industry. We're getting ready for it. It's in review right now. A submission
Yeah.
will be put into the government this year to request to open up the training packages for review, and hopefully it will be approved. So we've done a lot of work in the background with people such as yourself, with the various committees to make a case for change, which is very important for our industry. And I'd like to thank yourself and everybody else who's participated in that process of gathering that information to present to government, because that is going to be the basis of our future reform. And it is so important for people out there wondering, how can I get involved in the future of education? What would you say to them, Kelly?
First off, join these amazing like places like Arbic, be part of that like conversation, our part of the community where we do have a voice, where you are constantly then being kept ahead of the crowd. And I do feel therapists do want some kind of like committee, some kind of like unit that they belong to. And this is where I encourage everyone, and especially all of our students that come through, to be joining Arbic from the start. Have a voice. We want to regulate the industry. Beauty needs to be regulated. And it's not that I just feel that there's a lot of people out there that are just misinformed. And it's not big, and we notice this a lot at Beauty Expo. They didn't know that there was an option for accredited training or something that's a little bit more solid. And I do feel that people do want that. And it's important to stay part of these groups, part of this, joining ARBIC, being part of that community.
There's so many people behind the scenes working so hard to get this happening. It does take time though, right? With government, everything is so slow. We started ABIC 4 years ago. We've made a lot of progress and a lot of inroads, but I've noticed that the red tape is difficult to overcome. People think, why don't we have education reform? Why didn't we get it as soon as ABIC was established? Well, we had to make a case for change. Government needed to see why. There needed to be an opportunity. There needed to be consistent advocacy. There's been so many submissions put into various government groups, and previously it was the skills IQ, and now in the change of government, we've had a complete reform of who actually looks after education and training in terms of looking after the packages, and that new group moved in, and it's taken them 2 years to get set up to start reviewing any package really that's including the beauty package. So be patient, but be part of it, I would say, as well, because your voices are needed, and we are making extreme progress.
Absolutely.
It's very different in 5 years, isn't it, Kelly?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. In the 12 months that I've been part of ARBIC, the changes, it's such a rewarding group to be part of, because we are making that difference. The word is getting out there, even with Beauty Expo and your presence at Beauty Expo, the amount of them or people calling up and saying they want to be part of this group. They want the changes, and they want reform, and they want licensing within beauty. The voices are there. It's just a matter of the government listening and jumping on board. And I, in my heart, know that a lot of people coming in the beauty industry, they're usually empathetic. They want to do the right thing by their clients. Given the choice, they would choose that pathway. They just don't know that there's always a choice. They just think, oh, I just have to pick up a short course and I can do this. If you say, no, these are the things that can happen if you do that, they'll be like, okay, then train me the right way. And so I do believe
that. I love that it's a genuine wish. And I just want to say thank you so much for all the work that you do as well, altruistically for the industry, to give back in your own time. Thank you for supporting and being a member of ABIC and creating change in your own right. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today and chat with you as always. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Oh, thank you, Steph. Lovely to chat with you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. You've reached the end of another episode of the ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay connected.